Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pillow Talk. God bless you guys. Come on in, invite your followers, let your friends know that we are on. It's 9 p.m. and we are ready for Pillow Talk. We've got an amazing topic on tonight. It's going to be awesome. So please invite some people. It is going to be literally amazing. Yes, we are excited. Thank you so much for joining in with us. Thank you for your continued support for LaJun and Valora. And so we're grateful for all of you. Please come on and share. Yes, share. So we are excited about this episode of Pillow Talk, marriage lessons from Tyler Perry's Acrimony. Yes, it is amazing. If you haven't watched it, we're going to get into some great stuff.
I'm not going to say we're going to tell the whole movie, but I did take some notes during the movies, and I thought it would be really interesting. And we've never done that before. First of all, normally my wife does not let me tell the movie, because she knows I'll get up and preach the movie or talk about the movie or something, and she's
all
like, "You cannot talk about the movie, man." And so I'm not going to tell you the whole movie so you can go see the movie. But I did think there were some very interesting pieces in the movie that, that I really thought were things that people could look at in relationships.
Yes.
And so as I was, it's like anything else. When I'm watching something, I take notes. And so I'm going to share my notes with you because I think that they can help somebody. I really do. I really think that they can help somebody. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions before we get into it that I think will help too. So thank you guys for sharing.
Come right on.
And so I want you to look at some stuff. One of the things that we've been saying is don't ignore warning signs. And so I think that sometimes things can happen when you ignore warning signs, when if you had not ignored the warning sign, you would have necessarily not had to experience what you had to experience. And so Mr. Agape, he decided he wants to be a part of the movie tonight. So say hello to everybody, wave to everybody, and tell them hello. He's like, man, listen, y'all up here talking, sit down. Sit. You gonna sit? He's looking at me like, I ain't sitting tonight. I am not doing it. I'm just not doing it. So thank you for joining, and then thank you guys for sharing. I'd love for you to share for those of you who have not shared. And I thought the movie was pretty interesting. We went with another couple the other night to see it, and it was pretty interesting. But I took like a page and a half full of notes about just what I saw relationship wise that I thought would be very important for people. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, I guess, to get started. One of the questions that I looked at and I thought about was, remember we did the 10 sign or the 10 people you didn't want to marry, and one of them was a person that's selfish, and I'm learning more and more that people are not willing to die to themselves in relationships.
Right.
And people are not willing to give up what they want in a relationship to make the relationship work.
Absolutely.
And so when I looked at this, I asked a couple of questions. And one of the questions I asked is, do you have unmet expectations from your spouse? And then even with the unmet expectations, are your expectations unmet because they're unrealistic? Right. And then not only are they unmet because they're unrealistic, but did your spouse even actually have the capacity to meet your expectations? Because there are things that you know about being married after you've been married for a while. Well, sometimes you can't go back and change what you've already started. Right. But you can at least look at how you expect things from your spouse. Right. And sometimes we expect people to already be where we want them to be. And then I asked the question, I said, I'm going to get into the notes in a minute, but I asked the question, I said, is your spouse married to a mother, a father, a wife, a friend? Who are they really married to? Because sometimes, as I told you the other day, I was telling somebody this analogy. There were times when I talked to my wife, and I don't necessarily want to talk to the prophet. Right. I don't want to talk to the pastor. I want to talk to my friend because maybe I'm going through something that I need to talk to my friend and not somebody that's going to give me 500 scriptures. That's where sometimes we fail at. Although I know the scripture. Don't get me wrong. I know the scripture. Right. And I went to Bible school. I know the scripture. I have the Holy Spirit. But sometimes if I would need my wife, because I already got the Holy Spirit. So if there wasn't a need in my life for me to have her, then, and likewise for her to have me, then in addition to having the Holy Spirit, because there are some things that my wife can do that the Holy Spirit can't do. That's why he gave me a wife to help me. Absolutely. And so when you look at that, sometimes we're expecting our spouse to fulfill a role that they're not even really designated or even don't even have the capacity to fill. You know, and so sometimes why I say, you know, when you get into relationships, you really have to be whole. And I want to share some even principles that again we saw in the movie. You know, that's right. Some people say I want to talk to my husband and not the minister, and I think that's very important because when people get into trouble in their marriage, most of the problems that I have when people get into trouble in their marriage is because the spouse comes to us and says, "Well, when we were going through, they weren't reading their scripture, but now." Or when everything was going well, they weren't like in the scripture. Now that everything is falling apart, now all of a sudden they want to give me 500 scriptures for everything I'm doing and beat me upside the head with the word. When the reality is, I need to talk to somebody because now most of the time people are now wanting to either talk to their friends or other people who are not beating them up with the word. And so sometimes people just need to talk to a friend, you know. And so I think that's very important. So let's look at these. And then, you know, so I asked the question, I said, can your spouse actually share their weakness with you without feeling judged or criticized? Right. So if there's an issue, like say for instance, if I'm in a tough place, and I saw this in the movie, I think it was like 7 years before in the movie, the guy actually told her about his history and his past. Right. Because maybe somewhere in there, he felt like he wouldn't have gotten a chance with her had he shared with her in the beginning. And I think that's the case with sometimes in situations that we're dealing with, is that we're sometimes in relationship with people and we've gotten into a relationship based on looks, based on education, based on credit, based on all these things, and based on what you think the person can do for you, and we didn't really marry our best friend. And so then what happens is when something happens or something goes down, I'm not sure I can really share with you what my real issues are because we've never been best friends. Right. And we've never gotten to the place where I can feel comfortable with you sharing with you what I really got going on and what my real issues are. Absolutely. Because sometimes, of course, as we stated, sometimes we marry a fallacy. We marry a fantasy life of what we feel that marriage should be and how it should go. And so we really never take many times into consideration the person's weaknesses. And so many times, you know, when we get together, you know, we think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, they're a good person. You know, they'll get over it. It'll not be an issue. Once we get married, everything will be okay. Well, in essence, marriage only magnifies what you saw in the very beginning. And so, you know, being open and honest, I think is very key because, believe it or not, sooner or later, it's going to come up. It's going to manifest. It's going to come out in a way that is not going to always be what we think is appropriate, but it's going to come out. So it's important that you understand, and if the person really loves you, then they can you both can look at, okay, this is who I am. This is what has happened in my life. This is what I've gone through, but it's not who I am today. You know, it's not who I am today, because I think But now let me say this. And if it is who they are today, you still need to be able to know that. Oh, yeah. Because if this is a problem and here's again, most people don't get a lot of counseling from people who really understand counseling, healing, deliverance, prophetic ministry before they get married. So nobody's able to talk to them and ask them the tough questions like, how did you grow up? What's going on with your family history? You mean to tell me all the other women in your family are unmarried? You mean to tell me all the men in your family have been whoremongers, or they've been alcoholics, or they've been drunks, or they've been dealing with perversion, or they've been dealing with this? And so you're like, my God, I mean, like all of y'all been dealing with that? And so this is a synthesis in your family? And then you look good. Most people don't really, initially, they really don't ask those questions. No. Those are, you know, even as you said. Because I'm too enamored with your looks. Even as you said in the very beginning, getting to know the person. Not just what you see, but getting to know their history, getting to know their family, getting to know their background, because, you know, it's important that you understand what you're really dealing with. You know, what you're really dealing with and what you're going to have to deal with in days to come. That
most times people don't prepare for. They prepare for the wedding, they prepare for the dress, they prepare for the tux, they get, measured, and they get this and that, but they don't prepare for the marriage. They don't prepare for what they don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that becomes such an issue when the things that you don't know about that person will really, become a great issue if you don't deal with it,
So, hold on, because you just said something.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you just said something interesting. Now, I want you to think about what you just said. You said we prepare and we put a big emphasis on the size of the ring that we buy. Mm-hmm. So you want princess cut, diamond cut, you want heart shape, you want pear, you want these different shapes on a ring. Mm-hmm. And so you want to invest, $1,000, or somebody buy somebody $1,000 ring, they're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. So you want $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, maybe $13, $14, $15,000. You want rocks on your fingers. Because it's important to you how other people view you in this relationship.
Right. Even in different television shows, you never see a television show about premarital counseling. You always see television shows about, the dress, the bridezilla, all of those different things about, choosing the dress. So it's always more emphasis on the external and not what they're going to have to deal with in their marriage.
Because it's all about how people view you in your marriage.
Right.
So you want the credit because you want to be able to provide. You want the nice car and the nice home because it's how people, it's how you live and how you want to say you want to live. But we know a lot of people who have a lot of money and who have very nice homes and had very big weddings who are not married anymore.
Right.
Celebrities are getting divorced. Pastors are getting divorced. Leaders are getting divorced. Politicians are getting divorced. And so none of that stuff makes the relationship be what it needs to be. Absolutely. And so that can be dangerous.
It is.
So you spent, as you said, you spent money on the ring, you spent money on the dress, you spent money on the limousine,
on the food,
you spent money on the food.
People
Come
that
on.
are not going to support
They're
you.
not even going to pray for you.
When the rubber meets the road.
They're not praying for you.
Yes.
When we do weddings, we tell people that your responsibility is not just to be in that place with them, watching them, smiling at them, crying tears of joy supposedly. No, you're supposed to also be with them in prayer and be with them in decreeing and declaring and keeping the enemy out of their marriage.
Right.
It's very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So we look at that, and so I wanted to review this thing just about red flags in relationships, because we're finding we have a lot more people that are unmarried that watch this, but you look at it, and so you got red flags. So what were some of the red flags that you saw? And we'll kind of go through some of them, but when I began to look at it, I looked at one thing. For instance, when she first drove up to his house, let's go back to the first day when they met.
Yeah.
So the first day they met, and she tells the story, she runs out in the rain, and so she sees him. He bumps into her. When they bump into each other, he knocks the stuff down.
Knocks her papers down.
They and she starts fighting. I mean, she starts beating the man because he knocked her papers out of her hand. For me, that would have been red flag number one. You mean to tell me you beat me up because of I'm confused. I dropped some papers in the rain and you start fighting. So that let me know all of a sudden she was violent. So see here, you didn't have to wait to the middle of the movie when she all of a sudden, even the piece, next thing she demonstrated, because her violence only got worse. Right. To the point that she stabs the man and tries to kill him. Right. And then stabbing him wasn't good enough, shooting him wasn't good enough, she wanted to axe at him. But she tried to run over the whole trailer. The whole RV. She runs into the RV.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, you didn't run in, but he stays in it. And so we ignore the warning signs of relationships and we stay in this stuff, man. And then before you know it, this person is trying to kill you. Or on her side, she feel like he drove her to be mad like that. And can't nobody drive you to be mad? If you mad and you crazy, you already mad and crazy. Nobody did that to you. Yes. And I'm looking at him like, man, He didn't see it.
You know, and sometimes people feel as though they overlook it because that's what they're used to.
Okay.
They're used to dysfunction, and so they almost feel like they deserve it. They deserve to be yelled at. They deserve to be abused. They deserve, to go through this abuse. And so it is the mindset. Sometimes it's just the mindset of people, and they don't know anything else. And so because they don't know anything else, they accept whatever they receive.
Right. Absolutely.
They accept whatever they receive. They're like, well, it's just the way life is. That's how my mama acted. That's how my uncles acted. That's how everybody else acted. So I guess that's what I'm supposed to accept.
So unhealthy breeds unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we looked at from that is, and a principle is that if you grew up in an unhealthy environment, if the people around you, your mom, your dad,
right.
And can we be honest? Some of us grew up in these environments.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up, your mom is unhealthy, your father's unhealthy, all of your memories from your childhood were unhealthy. You could even have a mother and father in the house, but they didn't communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see them ever have things like intimacy. So
right.
Not necessarily, sexual intimacy. I'm saying you never saw your mom kiss your dad.
Right.
You never saw your dad kiss your mom. You never. We were at church on Wednesday. Was it? I think it was on Wednesday. And one of the members looked at me, and we're almost at 10 years. It was either Wednesday or Sunday, and he looks at me and he says, "I saw how your wife looked at you." He said, "Your wife looks at you like y'all just been married a couple of days." Mm-hmm. When she look at me, she smile and look at me and be grinning. And so it's important that somewhere in there and if you don't have that in your home, you
mm-hmm.
need to find people that you can model healthy marital relationship with. It is difficult to operate in something you've never seen before.
Right.
Even if you don't want to model what you've seen, oftentimes what you will model is what you've seen.
Right.
And so if you see when the husband gets upset, he gets distant and leaves. Mm-hmm. How does the husband deal with issues? Mm-hmm. How does the father deal with issues? How does the mother deal with issues? Do you see marital relationships that are healthy? Do you really see it? Mm-hmm. And so I go back to what you say, and I agree that it is difficult for you to be able to see, and so it may not even have been a red flag.
Right.
It may have been normal for you to see people fight in relationships.
Right. And I think, but the key goes back to that is both of their inability to really seek counsel prior to. Because in seeking
from
counsel
healthy people,
because
the sisters wasn't healthy either, because one of them marries somebody that has a baby on the other side of town. The other one marries somebody who I think what was it they said he was in
down low.
Yeah, he was on the down low. I mean, so like my God, so everybody married somebody unhealthy because they had never seen what healthy looked like.
Right, and then she found herself in a really bad situation when her mother passed away. And so we don't know exactly what that was all about, going through that. Perhaps, evidently she had been sick for a period of time, because when she saw her sisters and they told her that she had, passed away, it was almost as if something that was almost expected. Mm-hmm. So going through that whole process, sometimes when we go through traumatic situations or we're just going through issues in life, many times we'll make a decision because of our emotions, and sometimes we'll make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation that we have not just taken time to heal. And so many times we'll try to replace one emotion for another.
Now somebody asked Jonda, Jonda, we love you. Jonda is one of our family members from Perth, Australia. She's from Papua New Guinea. And Jonda asked the question, I know people that tell me that fighting is normal in a relationship. Is that true? Now, it depends on the degree of when they say fighting. Mm-hmm. Does that mean we have a disagreement? Does that mean we have a fist fight? Does that mean we have a knockdown, drag out, knock your eyes out, knock my eyes out, black eyes?
Or verbal abuse.
Verbal abuse. We shoot at each other. I mean, it depends on the definition. I'm telling you, you're going to have disagreements. That's inevitable.
Yes.
But if they're saying that fighting, like physically fighting, is normal and healthy in relationships, I'm like, what kind of relationships have they been in? Mm-hmm. Because the reality is, I mean, how many chances and how many times let me say this. I had a some people I knew, and the young lady was actually attracted to him because he was abusive. Mm-hmm. And so because she had seen her mother go through abuse, and so she then accepted abuse, and then if he didn't abuse her, she didn't even feel like he loved her.
Right.
And so, but that's unhealthy. That's dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. I'm saying if they're beating you, even if it's a man, because there are men that get beat these days. There are men that is not funny. It's not funny. Most people think, well, men don't get abused in relationships.
They do.
But there are some women who abuse men.
And I forgot the percentage, but it is a significant percentage of men that are, go through domestic violence themselves.
Right. Hey, and then Reginald said, busting your windows and putting your tires on flat is not normal. And so if you get into the relationship and the way she dealt with you doing what you was doing was through busting out windows, and that's I bust your window. Bust your windows out your. And I'm like, my God, and so we laugh at that kind of stuff, and we think.
But how many women could relate to that?
Right.
It became very popular because many women could relate to that.
Or the Lorena Bobbitt stuff, or the man with the grits, and so that ain't normal. Even if somebody doesn't like you or does something wrong, leave them. Don't go to prison for the rest of your life because you got an aggravated assault charge because attempted murder because somebody didn't do something you wanted to do.
Absolutely. And that's where you realize that you've gone too far.
Right.
That's where you realize that you've given this person enough power to control you.
Right, absolutely.
To get you to a place that you commit a crime, to get you to a place where you look at hurting someone. And so that's when you know that this is not normal. What I'm dealing with is not normal. And so as we look at that, it was just, even though the story was told from her point of view, as we begin to look at the movie, we begin to see so many red flags on both parts and on both sides, because you don't get to that point just by yourself.
Right. And one of the things I saw too was, here's another one. So anger, abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, it's even emotional. Check this out. Even if you're married, it is abusive to your spouse if you withhold intimacy from them, if you withhold communication from them. One person may say it's only verbal abuse or abuse, but that's emotional abuse.
Right.
So that's the way you manipulate and control your spouse to do what you want them to do. That's not acceptable either.
Right.
Just like physical abuse is not acceptable, verbal and emotional abuse is not acceptable.
Absolutely.
For your spouse. You
Right.
shouldn't have to put up with that. So I was looking at the thing when she buys him the car. Then after she buys him the car, he disappears. It goes to why I told you I don't pray for people to get cars and spouses. Because as soon as you pray for it and they get what they're looking for, they're gone. Think about it. Think about it now. Through the movie, she gives him $20,000 and $30,000 presents. He gives her bubblegum machine presents until the very end.
Right.
And so you got to be able to look at that and see whether or not the person is actually willing to come and meet you at the table.
She believed in the, I wouldn't want to say necessarily lie, but in a sense it was. But she believed in the fantasy that he believed in. Because he was able to convince her, don't give up on me now, don't leave me now. And so as she looked at her life, there were people that had left her. Her mother had left her through death. Her sisters had left her because they had gotten married, and so they were moving out of the family home. So here she was in a place of aloneness, and so the people that she cared about that were close to her left her. So here she is with this person. She doesn't want him to leave her. And so many times we will continue to do things because we don't want to be alone. We don't want to be left alone.
So we'll accept anything.
We'll accept anything. We'll accept the abuse, and we'll just say, well, at least they're not doing this. At least they're coming home.
Rationalize.
Right. And so we begin to rationalize their behavior. And then when someone that loves you is concerned about what you're dealing with and what they see, then they become your enemy.
Right. Because even when she, the second major episode was, and both of them were dysfunctional in the second situation, where he cheats, and so she gets there, and he's got some other woman in the thing, and she sees the woman's hand, and here's the little RV rocket, Then she gets in her Jeep and runs the RV off of his bricks. Right there should have been the end of the relationship.
Absolutely.
He should have went his way and she should have went her way. Because there is no way, if at that point you feel like you got to go to that extreme, one, if he's got to go to the extreme that he leaves her and goes to be with somebody, if you got to cheat, you need to leave. And on her side, if you got to kill him or try to kill him, you don't want to be with him. And you don't need, and so you're just going to stay with each other after that?
Right.
No, there's no I'm sorry behind that. You tried to kill me.
Ain't no sorry.
Ain't no sorry.
Ain't no sorry.
So,
because it was not her first relationship. Because sometimes when it's your first relationship or whatever, you have this head over heels things, and she had a relationship before because they introduced, the ex-boyfriend was there at the memorial.
Right.
So it wasn't as though she was just oblivious and she went on this trail. No, she had been in a relationship before.
And let me ask you this question. I asked this tough question to somebody who was becoming a member of the church. In our new member orientation, sometimes there's a form that they have to complete. And one of the questions is, were you a member of another church? How did you transition from that church? Because sometimes when people do is when they tell you about the ex relationship, they never tell you how they operated in the other relationship. They always tell you about how the ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend operated.
Yes.
Or the ex-spouse, And so here you talking about, oh, well, he didn't do this and she didn't do this and he didn't do that and she didn't do that. But then my question always is, well, what did you do? Because, and then, so you've been with 3 people that did the same thing? So you obviously are attracted to whatever trait those people had.
Right.
And so you're attracted to people who are unfaithful. You're attracted to people who are crazy.
Right.
So I would have to go back and ask him how was his mama like that? Because obviously you something about her attracted you.
Right.
I mean, if I'd ran into you in the rain and you started beating me, I probably wouldn't, you know what?
But you know what, sometimes, with men, it's about the chase. It's about, getting what you want or what you feel that you cannot have. So it was a pursuit. For him, it was a pursuit. It was, I like this girl, evidently. And some people are just like feisty people. They like people that, that are feisty or, whatever. So there are so many different things in that. But it is important that we really, really evaluate the people that we deal with and the people that we feel as though we've been called to, or we want to marry, or we want to get into a relationship. We really have to evaluate those things, because whatever you see now is only going to magnify later.
And it's going to escalate.
It's going to escalate. It's going to continue. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get crazier.
And if you ignore it.
If you ignore it, absolutely.
It's going to get worse.
Absolutely. And so being able to identify those things, one of the things that we've seen where most times when people make a decision that they're going to get married, I don't care what you say to them. I don't care how much counseling they go through. They're going to do what they want to do anyway.
And then, because somebody, Jonda was saying she's got her paper, she's making a list of questions. But you need to ask a list of questions. I mean, questions like, and then here's one thing that I said out of this whole thing is, if what we're doing always hurts you or hurts me, this ain't going to work.
Right.
Relationships shouldn't always hurt.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't always be painful.
Yes.
It shouldn't always. You have to have some sacrifice. Don't get me wrong, and you have to have some compromise. Don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't always be painful. It shouldn't always be like where it's just always hurting you, and you're feeling used, misused, abused, marginalized, criticized. I mean, that can bring the ugly out of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you feel as though that you're doing everything and the other person is only contributing to your hurt or to your the things that you're trying to overcome, they're causing more problems in your life than they are solutions, bringing solutions, then that's something you need to think about. Because here she was, trying to support him and believing in what, this dream that he had, this invention that he had. So she took on 2 jobs. And then there are times when, perhaps the husband is doing something else and the wife supports him. Nothing at all wrong with that. But when it comes to a time this was not just 3 years. It wasn't 5 years. This was like
18 years.
18 years. 18 years.
And so he laying in the bed, and she getting up going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's ugly.
Yeah.
That's tough.
18 years. But then again, who do you blame?
I don't just blame him. I blame her because she allowed it to happen.
Absolutely.
And she did not. The reality is, these are things that, you know, I mean, what kind of work ethic do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a bad season.
Right.
But if you have a bad foundation,
yes,
that's tough.
I mean, for 18 years, you don't try to contribute. You don't, for 18 years,
mm-hmm.
and you're okay with that. You're okay with allowing your wife to go out and she's tired. That means you have no concern about her other than what you want.
Mm-hmm.
None at all. For 18 years? I don't mean 18 days or 18 months. I'm talking 18 years.
Yeah, that's tough.
And so,
That's tough.
again...
And then she's mad because it's like he's pushed her to this place of being off the edge, and she blames him,
mm-hmm.
but she really got to blame herself.
Right. Absolutely.
But I think at the same time, I don't know how healthy, because you never see her father.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how healthy of an image of a relationship there was even for that.
Mm-hmm. And and as I look back with her sisters, they may have been trying to warn her because they know what they're dealing with.
Mm.
And they may have tried to warn her, don't do it. Don't do it. What I see some of him in what I'm dealing with right now. So, many times we are warned about certain things and we don't take heed until it's too late. And so it may have been that her sisters were...
Hey, you about to get Kendall started. Kendall said it was about his battery. I can hear her now. Pastor, it was about his battery. Everything he wanted to do was dealing with that battery.
That battery, absolutely.
Now, it eventually paid off, but my God.
But you've taken 18 years of my life. And here I am supporting,
about
and then,
battery.
And so sometimes people will say, well, don't just walk away from somebody that's trying to make it, that has this idea, that has this vision, so on and so forth. But for 18 years, you don't work.
And then my thing is too.
You done almost tore up the whole house. Almost
No,
burned
he
the
didn't
house
almost.
down.
He did burn it down.
Yeah.
And
then here she is in a place of foreclosure, and you still.
Yeah. And so but I look at some of this stuff, and what I see is, again, going back to it, in relationships, are you asking the right questions? Do you have the courage to ask either before you're married or if you're already married, mm-hmm. can you go and ask the right questions?
Right.
So remember when the first day, I think it was like the first 24 hours, we talked all night, and we talked, I mean, literally all night before the first day we met.
Uh-huh.
I was driving back to Tennessee.
Right.
We talked all the way.
Yes.
But I told you everything that you could have found out about me. And everything you needed to know about me, I told you, because
right.
I didn't want you to have any surprises.
Yes.
And then you told me, you said, well, these are my issues. Mm-hmm. These are my problems. Mm-hmm. This is where I've battled at before. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have any surprises.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to say, I told you my story. My mother was basically incarcerated all my life. My wife's father, he died in 2014. Mm-hmm. About 12 hours before my grandmother died. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is, on my wife's side of the family, there were some things that they had challenges with. Mm-hmm. Mother and father had challenges. On my side, mom and dad had certain challenges. So at least we were able to tell each other, these are the issues.
Okay.
This is what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Let me let you meet some of these people.
Right.
Because if you don't understand, this is what I dealt with. Mm-hmm. So then when I met them and we understood it, we were like, at least we know. Right. Now I have a choice in whether or not I want to deal with that or not. Mm-hmm. You have a choice in whether or not you want to deal with this or not. That's important.
Absolutely. Being willing to deal with each other's past, being able to deal with where we were currently. Mm-hmm. Because where we were currently was not where we've been. And we tell the story, You know, we both had amazing careers and so on and so forth. Life hit us around the same time, and here we were in a place of transition. Here we were in a place that we didn't have what we had been used to having. I didn't have a job, you know, so on and so forth. God had told him to resign from his job, what, about 2 or 3 weeks prior to?
Maybe about 2 months.
2 months, right.
It was October, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me I was moving. And so here I moved to a city I had never lived in before.
Mm-hmm.
And we told you the testimony. I mean, you know, now we broke all of the rules of premarital counseling. If we'd have got the premarital counseling, they'd been like, listen, no, y'all can't do it, run. And so I'm saying that even to say that there's sometimes when you can, you can break some of the rules, but you still need to at least know what you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And you know, one of the things we said in the beginning was don't marry anybody who won't pray for you. Mm-hmm. Because praying for the person, I believe God can change anything.
Yes.
So I don't want you to get it wrong and say, well, me and my spouse have gone through this, or this has happened, or that's happened, and so God can't change whatever. No, God can change anything. Mm-hmm. And we've done very, very well for ourselves and still do very well because we created things. But we created things together. And so you can do a lot if you create things together, but I think on the other end, you at least need to know what you're dealing with.
Yes.
So if they got some twitch in them, if they got a little crazy in them, if they got a little play in their steering wheel, you need to know all of that kind of stuff before you get married. Because once you get married, now you done stood before the altar and said, for better or worse, you done spent the 25 grand. And most times, everybody puts their best foot forward first. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever tells you... nobody ever tells you, people don't tell you stuff. That's the bad stuff. They don't tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. They just tell you the good. Right. They want everything to be beautiful. Uh-huh. So you meet the sister. She don't tell you, this is not my hair. These are not my eyelashes. These are not my eyebrows. I drew them on. These are not my lips. I just got them reconstructive surgery. This ain't, the front ain't mine, the back ain't mine. None of this is mine. The brother don't tell you, I borrowed this car. Right. Come on. Right. I just got my credit fixed because I keep having to get it fixed because I don't understand how to keep it together. Mm-hmm. Come on. Mm-hmm. Come on. I got 12 felonies and I got 15 kids. Mm-hmm. And so you like, well, you look good. I'm not telling you that I just got through getting that these are dentures. But
you know what? Most times, though, what I've seen and what we've seen is even when people know that, they were like, oh, it's okay.
Kendall, yes.
And they don't realize.
Y'all think I'm joking. I'm telling you, I've seen this happen.
Yes.
Have we not seen this happen?
We've seen it.
The brother, you walk in, you be like,
it's okay. We had someone we were counseling in. So, you know, they were both on a very limited income. They were, you know, one was kind of like on a just...
John said, everything I have is mine. Oh, God.
And they were kind of on, you know, limited income. God. But he lived with his mom. And so we were like, okay... So how much money do you get? And it was a nominal amount.
Oh, no, you gotta tell this story.
Oh.
So they were on fixed incomes. Uh-huh. And so he lived with his mama. And so, this was so funny. But it wasn't really funny. So he came in during the counseling. And so I'm doing this sheet because I already can look at it and tell everything ain't there.
Yeah, it's not
so then he says, are y'all ready for this?
So we asked him, well, what do you do with your money? I mean, do you contribute to the finances of the home, you know, to where, you know, you're living with your mom? What do you do with your money? And so what was his reply?
He said, well, oh, God, I'm going to go back to that. Some people say, you know, makeup isn't real and you wear it. I'm not opposed to wearing makeup. That's different than just having everything, like, not necessarily there.
Yes.
And so that's different. I'm going to come back to them. And so the brother says, we said, what do you do with your money? Because I'm trying to assess whether or not they can get married and it's going to be well.
Right.
The brother says, I buy water. Oh, God. He said,
I had to take a bathroom break.
I buy water at his mama's house.
Yeah.
So the only thing you buy and pay at your mama's house is buying water? You ain't paying no light bill, no phone bill at your mama's house? It's going to be a problem.
Yes. And guess what?
It was
a problem.
It was a problem. A few months later, the divorce happened.
Right, absolutely, because he was still back and forth at his mama's house.
Right.
So these are the type of things that sometimes we want to overlook, and we're gonna say, "Oh, it's no big deal." It's a big deal. It is a serious
big deal.
Big deal. I had to take a bathroom break on that.
Somebody said, "How old was he?" No, this brother was in his 40s.
Yeah,
he was almost 50.
Yeah,
he was almost 50, and he was only buying water. You didn't hear what I said. You didn't hear what I said. He was only buying water, people. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So some of the stuff that you experience, you're like, now back to the makeup thing. Now, I mean, I think you should make yourself look. You know, there's some denominations that people don't wear makeup, but I believe you should wear makeup.
Yeah, sometimes people do this such extreme. They can look nice, but that's really not who they are because everything about them is fake and artificial.
I'm not gonna read that question.
Yeah.
No. Stop it. You stop it.
Yes.
No.
You know what?
No,
There was an article, and I don't think it was fake news, but this man sued his wife because he said she gave him ugly kids because she did not tell him she had plastic surgery.
Oh God.
So here it was, she was living this fallacy, and then he realized she had plastic surgery, now they had ugly kids.
Listen, y'all. Listen, people. Put that on your questionnaire. Ask the people. Have you had plastic surgery?
Yes.
Because it's a potential that they don't look like they look. Mm-hmm. And then when you have children, the children are not going to look like they look. Yep. And so that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. Now, let me say another one. Oh, my God. I can't take it. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. But that's real, though.
It's real.
Then we had another scenario where the husband eventually divorced the wife because the wife had a health condition and he didn't know about the health condition when they first got married. Mm-hmm. And so he says he was leaving because he didn't get married to to be able to deal with that. And he didn't want to have children with her because it's a potentiality that whatever problem she had would be given to the children, and he didn't want to have to go through the health issues with her or with the children.
Absolutely. And so, it was quite devastating because this person had just lost a very, very close family member. And some families, they're prone to diabetes, or they're prone to cancer. As you know, you go to the doctor, they want to know your family history. So if, say, your grandmother or your mother has had, like, say, breast cancer, then they say, well, it's likely that there's maybe a 50% chance that you may have breast cancer as well. So it was a situation similar to that where the mother had a certain disease. And so the mother then passed away. So the husband of the daughter said, I don't want to have to deal with that if you get it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to leave now.
And then the other thing.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to desert the marriage now because I don't want to have to deal with that if you get that.
Right. Yeah. And
so it's just really amazing. Our heart was just breaking because they had just lost a parent, and here it is, come back, and the husband says, "Oh no, I'm not staying with you."
And then the question, it goes back to being selfish.
Right.
It goes back to being unequally yoked, to not having a prayer life, because you look at all of those factors, and I don't care if you sick, because when I stood there and said for better or for worse, sickness and health, I didn't really mean that.
No.
I just meant as long as you stay fine, and as long as you can serve my need, right, and as long as you can be who I want you to be.
Sure.
And so I'm not really marrying you because I really love you. Mm-hmm. I'm marrying the idea of you.
Right.
I'm marrying the idea of this perfect wedding.
Right.
Of us both having a certain amount of degrees. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough because the reality is that was devastating. But if I had really listened in that case to my leader and not necessarily fallen emotionally in love, because sometimes we fall emotionally in love with folks and we were like, oh, I heard from God. The only time, I have talked to so many pastors that are so frustrated because the only time people don't listen is when it comes to marriage and relationships. You went to talk to them about everything else, but when it came to the marriage, you didn't want to. And I tell my people all the time, I would rather know on the front end than I would on the back end.
Right.
I have a couple people now that's telling me they want to be in a relationship, and I'm telling them, y'all are not us. You better know you heard from God. You better know that person is who they say they are. Did they tell you everything? I'm saying go back and tell them this part. Go back and tell them that part.
Right.
Go back and share with them all of that so they make a conscious decision. Because I know you heard from God. Then when you find out this other stuff, you're like, oh, no, I don't know if I heard from God. I don't know if that was God or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And then we want God to fix what he never ordained. And so we still try to make it work. We're trying to make it work. It's got to work. It's got to work. And God is saying, I never ordained it. This was never my will. And so we have to begin to look at that because sooner or later, it's going to cause demise in some way or another, whether it's emotional demise, whether some kind of way that the enemy is going to come to bring death to you. And whether it's your purpose, whether he tries to kill your purpose, steal your purpose, steal your peace, your joy, your life, your hope, your ministry, or all of these different things. And so we have to really begin to evaluate where we are. We have to be real with ourselves. Okay, this is not going anywhere. It's only getting worse. And not to say that sometimes even when God does ordain things that it still doesn't mean that you'll never have an issue. You'll never have situations that you go through. It's that you'll never have an argument. You will. And I'm really kind of concerned about people say, oh, we've never argued. Oh, we've never had a disagreement. That's not a marriage. I don't care what nobody said. That is not a marriage.
Because you're going to disagree, but you want to be healthy enough to disagree too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then somebody was saying something about they wanted to do you're doing a background check. But let me say this: if I got to hire a private investigator to check you out and find out who you really are and find out what's really going on with you, do I really want to marry you? Because somewhere in there's some trust issues. That means we don't even have a relationship that lets you even be honest with me about what you had to experience.
Right.
See, because once we really sat down and said, you said, baby, this is what I've had to experience. I said, well, this is what I've had to experience.
Right.
Now you have an opportunity to be able to say, well, I can deal with that, or, I love you and you look good, but I don't know if I can handle that. Right. That just may not be something I can handle.
Absolutely.
And
then when he was like, well, maybe not, maybe this is not God. And then when he tried to leave, the car blew up. So.
Right. That's exactly what happened. That's what happened. I don't know did we tell him that story? I was trying to leave Sarasota to go back to Memphis, and man,
that's when we met that day. We met and we talked, and it was an ease to talk with him, and it was just a connection, and so we had to determine, okay, are you my brother or are you my husband? Because I don't want to get the two mixed up.
Ken Rose, I'm just picking on you, but I am saying, yeah, you do need to find out things, but I just think going back to it, if I can't trust you, I just can't trust you. She said when she tried to leave somebody, she got stalked. Jesus. See, that lets you know right there. If they start stalking you from the beginning, that lets you know they're going to be very controlling.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to go anywhere.
Right. You always have to check in with them. You always have to let them know where you are in the beginning. Because some things, it's not an issue of concern. If they're concerned about you, if, say, you work at night, you work late, and then you have to go home, they say, well, just check in so I'll make sure you're home, that you're okay. that's one thing. But when they have to, they've got a gauge on your phone, and then you got to check in every hour or every, couple hours to let them know where you are. I mean, that's not normal.
Or when you have to lie about where you are because they wouldn't be able to accept that you have people that are friends outside of that relationship. And I saw a situation like that not too long ago where this person came to see my wife and I, and they couldn't even tell their spouse. The spouse called and they couldn't tell them. So that's tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
Right.
And so if that's the situation you're in where you can't even tell your spouse things that are going, you got to have secrets and hide stuff, that's dangerous. Now it's one thing if, you make a decision on the spur of the moment. I've made a decision spur of the moment, did something, bless somebody, did whatever. Then I come back and tell my wife, well, this is what I did. I blessed this person, blessed that person, no problem. Or you say, well, baby, you went and blessed somebody. And you were like, well, you come back, and she was like, well, I did X, Y, Z. Well, at least you got to be able to tell them.
Sure.
But if you're in a situation, man, where you can't tell the person.
You always have to hide something from your spouse or whatever. And one of the things that we did in the very beginning, because initially we had one phone, one cell phone. And so it worked for us. It just worked for us at that time. We did get 2 cell phones. And so even in that, we always have the same passwords. There is nothing that I have to hide from him when he says, oh, let me see your phone for a second. I'm like, oh, okay, here. And so he doesn't have to go through, my text messages or go through, my inboxing and say, sometimes he'll say, like my inboxes, because there's a couple different places and sometimes I may miss something. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I miss something. He was like, you need to answer this person back. You need to go back and look at your message. So, Because
sometimes people inbox, there's 2 inboxes, like with Facebook. There's 2 inboxes. So there's the ones of people that know you, and then there's the ones of people that you're not friends with.
Right.
And sometimes, because she's more introverted, she don't be wanting to deal with the people that she don't know them.
Blue moon,
and so
once in a while.
You got these, and I'm looking like, baby, you ain't answer that person, that person.
Okay.
Listen,
they got it.
They got it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, don't get on that. See, so sometimes you are gonna not necessarily, everything's not gonna see eye to eye. Or they may have a different personality type or the way that you do things.
Right.
But you should be able to agree to disagree. Or, like for me, I don't sweat the small stuff. Like for me, most stuff really don't even matter. I don't care about where we eat. I don't care. I can find something to eat anywhere. I can wear whatever. I don't even bother with none of that stuff. The thing, I'll tell you, my only issue has ever been, I don't like being late. That's my only issue ever.
Jesus.
I don't like being late. Right. I like being on time because I'm ex-military. So other than that, and I like to make sure we pay our tithe, and I like to make sure that we share, and I don't like division. So I don't like anything that brings division.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've had to learn too is to really appreciate his creativity. His creative side. I say this all the time. I actually live with a genius. He is a literal genius. Just his creativity, the visions, and just the things that God gives to him. And so I've had to learn how to appreciate that. And so there are times when he'll come up with different things. Sometimes just in a day he'll come up with 5 different things. And we both know, okay, he can't do 5 different things at the same time, but being able to encourage him so that, to encourage him in that so that we can look at how can we accomplish this. And everything may not be for us. It may be for someone else. Many times people call and he'll give them an idea and he'll say, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. And so learning to appreciate him as a person, as a man, and how God uses him. And likewise, he appreciates me as a woman of God, and then how God uses me. We work well together, but in some instances, our personalities are different, and the way we think is different. And so, but we're able to work together. That's really, really amazing. But it could only happen if I learned how to appreciate who he was.
Yeah, that's good. Let me give you a couple of indicators of unhealthy. One indicator of unhealthy is no boundaries. When you meet somebody that has no boundaries, that's an indicator of unhealthy. So you got to figure out where the boundaries are. It's like if you break boundaries before you get married, you'll break boundaries once you get married. Mm-hmm. Very important.
Yes.
Number 2 indicator of unhealthy is no standard. Mm-hmm. When you have no standards for anything, that's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. And when you were talking about boundaries, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about these boundaries, I think, in like things that you do before you get married or things that you shouldn't do.
Right.
Boundaries as far as, like, if I'm going to pick up your phone, I'll say, hey, baby, can I see your phone for a minute?
Sure.
So I ask permission to do that.
You do.
Although it's not something that and you'll say, oh, baby, can I check this out? Can I do this? Mm-hmm. So it's an issue of making sure that you have boundaries.
Right. Even
relationally, if there are things that you per se like and I don't like, well, I can't make you do it. So I have a boundary that says, I'm not going to make you do what I want you to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if it's something like, for instance, my wife likes oysters. Well, I don't really like oysters. I don't like mussels. Did I tell them the mussel story?
You ain't telling the mussel story.
Okay, let me tell y'all the mussel story. I'm going to tell y'all why I don't like mussels. Y'all ready for this? Okay, so we get married. We're in Memphis. We're back getting all the stuff. We were at dinner at Carrabba's. This is our little honeymoon piece. We didn't really have a real honeymoon. So we're at Carrabba's. I'm trying to be this really tough guy and be the manly man that I am. And so she's trying to feed me mussels. I'm eating the mussels, y'all. 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, they were good. I mean, I'm eating them. They're really good. 3 o'clock in the morning, I realize mussels don't sit very well with me. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm worshiping the porcelain. Yes. Y'all can catch the rest of it. Because I was there for like a half hour to an hour in the bathroom because everything didn't sit well with me.
They went down one color. But they came out.
Right, it was black. Everything, and I realized I'm allergic to them. I got to be allergic to them because I was so sick. And so, I realized then, okay, so when we go to restaurants, she was like, well, I want some oysters. I was like, baby, you get all the oysters you want to. If all they got is bread, I'm going to eat bread because I'm not eating oysters. I'm not eating mussels. Some of the stuff I'm just not eating. Not eat anything else as far as seafood. But so I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't trip on that. My only thing is, let's be on time. Let's make sure the bills are paid on time. Those are my only issues. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Other than that, I don't really care about anything else. Mm-hmm. I'll just, and then, I won't even say one of the other things.
And then even for me, sometimes, I take a little bit longer or whatever, but I, come to the realization of, okay, if this is really important to him, then I need to see how I can better myself and, with time management so that I can really be on time. I don't want to contribute. We don't want to contribute to their frustration. And if somebody is continuously contributing to our frustration, then you have to take note and say, are they really concerned about me? Mm-hmm. Do they really care about me and how I feel and what's important to me? So, it's a part of evaluating those things. As we look, as we were sharing about the movie, here she was dragging herself out of bed, going to these jobs, and she should have asked herself, does he really care? And evidently she got into such a routine, a pattern of like, this is just the way life is going to be for me.
And then I said one of the other points, he was oblivious to her stress with having to work 2 jobs because he was so wrapped up in what he was doing. Mm-hmm. Nothing else mattered to him except for what he wanted. And although it did pay off in the end, you still need to somewhere in there make a decision that you're not going to make your priority somebody else's priority,
right,
and make it so much so that it inconveniences them, because she couldn't get her sanity back.
Right.
You cannot get your sanity back. You cannot get 10, 12, 15, 20 years of sanity back when you sitting in a place rocking and you like, my God, I remember when. And now you sitting on the counselor's chair and you rocking and talking to yourself because you have lost your sanity when you should have gotten out of that thing. And I'm not advocating divorce, but I'm saying, brother, if you rocking and this person is driving you literally mad, this is not good.
Right.
It's not good when somebody takes your sanity.
Right.
It's not good when somebody takes just they're so concerned about what they want out of the relationship. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, you can see when a person doesn't have boundaries from the beginning. If every time you say no, and they manipulate you with emotions and with things and with other things and pull on your heartstrings, that's not good. It's not good. Do not get into a relationship with somebody that manipulates you.
Right.
Don't stay in a relationship with somebody that's always, and let them know, I really feel like you manipulating me. I really feel like you I really feel like you use that to manipulate me. It's like if I start fussing about something, my wife will tell them what you do when I start fussing.
What I do?
You use that little soft voice. You see the little soft voice?
Because I'm a de-escalator. I'm a calmer. I'm calm inside, and so I'm a de-escalator. I de-escalate situations. I said, it's okay. And so he always said, you try to manipulate me. I'm like, I'm not. I'm really not manipulating you. I promise I'm not. But I'm just not the type.
And to
person
see what she did, and she also grabs my hand.
Yes,
because her love language is touch.
Yes, so that's my love language. His love language is communication. He likes to talk. And so I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn how to communicate, effectively.
Yeah.
I'm a great listener. And then there have been times when I have, as he was talking about, just shutting down and not talking, not saying anything. I've done that. I have done that in the past, wherein I just I'm not saying nothing. You can talk by yourself. I'm not talking. I'm not doing. And he was like, well, you need to talk back to me. And I'm like, I ain't saying nothing.
Now, another thing we said is having healthy people around you. Because if you've got healthy people around you, they can see stuff you can't see.
Right.
And learning how to listen to the healthy people around you, and even learn how to listen to your spouse.
Yes.
One of the most challenging things that I've seen, even with being a pastor and people that I see that pastor, is sometimes being able to, in the initial years, being able to listen to your spouse. Because sometimes your spouse can see stuff you can't see. My wife, there's things, if I listened to my wife, I would not have gotten into certain situations and allowed certain people to even end up doing stuff that they did if I'd have listened to what she said. She was like, baby, that one right there. And I'm like, oh no, they good people. They all right. And my wife's like, nope, I'm telling you, that one right there ain't gonna work. And so you need people, again, who are healthy people, healthy.
Right, healthy.
And their relationship is healthy and their marriage is healthy. You're gonna be married, you need other healthy marriage couples around you. Don't let your spouse isolate you and cut you off from all of your family, now if you got your family is a little bit, cray, no problem. Don't get your family in your business, in your marriage. But I'm saying, don't let your spouse isolate you. They move you off to some other country, some other place, and you don't have anybody around you who you can communicate with, who can see the warning signs of abuse or other stuff that's going on. You want to be around healthy people who can see. Now that's not good for you. I mean, you tell me y'all been married for 3 years and you don't cook for your husband. I mean, you've never learned how to cook.
Right.
I mean, you can't even boil water.
Right.
I mean, or you're withholding emotional and physical intimacy from your husband. Or you hold on, brother, you not working? Because who was in his life that could say, man, you need to get a job?
Right.
What's wrong with you? You ain't got no job?
Because he said his uncle had left, and I forgot the situation. What was the situation with his parents? I think they passed away when he was young. His father was in prison.
Was he?
I think so. His father was in prison. His mother, I think, had passed away when he was young. So his uncle had left him that RV, and so he was, whoever that was, property that allowed him to live there. So he did not have a lot of role models. He was there in school, attending college. But amazingly enough, as we highlighted, he got his degree, but she didn't.
Right.
She didn't. She forfeited for him and ended up with nothing.
And so now, for her, at the end of her life, she's in remorse. She's in resentment. She's got all of that because of the fact, and that's another thing I'm very big on. I'm very big on husbands making sure that you empower and pour into your wives. because I think that sometimes if my wife's whole identity is tied to me, that's why I told her, I said, I want you to do the bold and fearless prayer intercessor. I want you to do the thing that's important. Prayer is important to my wife. So if prayer is important to her, I'm not saying prayer is not important to me, but that's her area. So it's my job to then, I've invested. She wanted to do conferences. What did I do? I made sure that we invested in the conference that you wanted to do, so that it allowed you to have a sense of pride in who you were as a woman.
Right.
And then even with your schooling, I said, baby, I want you to finish school. Why? Because I knew that earlier in your life, there were a lot of things that happened that caused you not to be as confident in yourself.
Right.
And so I wanted you to be bold and to be fearless. And so what did I need to do? I needed to pour into you being bold and fearless.
Right.
Because if I didn't, and so never marry anybody who is not willing to invest in you to see you become strong and confident and be who you're called to be.
Yes.
Because you have been beat down most of your life. You have been verbally, emotionally abused. And so now, if I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, I need to make sure that you get your degree.
Right.
So now you can feel pretty good. Now you're getting your second degree. What did I tell you? I said, baby, I don't want anything to stop you from getting what you need to get.
Right.
Even if it gets tough, I want to push you to get it. Why? Because I know that what does it make you feel? It makes you feel confident.
Yes.
There are different positions that I say, I want you to get this position because it's going to make you feel confident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you want to make sure that you, and then likewise, there are times when I'm doing something and she'll be like, baby, I believe you can do it.
Absolutely.
I believe in you. I know you can do it.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes, because the reality is, I don't care how tough you are, we need other people.
Yes.
The best basketball team that there is needs fans who support them, cheerleaders, a coach. You need all of that.
Yes.
You can have, let me tell you something, you can have the jersey on, be on the court, but you could have the desire to play, but your fans and the people who surround you and tell you can do it mean a lot.
Yes.
So you got to have a good support system too.
Absolutely.
Don't let people cut your support system off.
Yes.
And then make sure your support system is not biased. If you're married, don't let people put you against your spouse. Don't get in the habit of telling people about stuff your spouse's downfall. If your spouse has an issue, don't get in the habit of bringing people in, because it was like the sisters was cool. They beat the man down, talking real funky about him. Then when he gave the check, all of a sudden now
we've never had this much money. So then they became a part of it, but they weren't willing to.
It was their money then. Right. No, it wasn't your money, because you didn't give me the wisdom to be able to get this thing right. This thing has been unhealthy from the beginning.
From the very beginning.
It's really been unhealthy.
Yes.
And so then, now I almost got a sense of entitlement. But you didn't give me good advice, because I could have had my own check.
Right. And
she could have made the money that she got, create more money, and been healthy, and graduated school, and not had to been at the place where you losing your mind.
And I think, being able to, sometimes we can see things in someone's life, and we can see that where they are is not a good place, but it's not always what you say, is how you approach them. It's how you approach them in it, because many times when we become so adamant, you need to leave them alone, you need to get away from them, and so then sometimes it really begins to push you closer to that person or that situation that you really need to get away from. And so having the right people in your life that can really speak into your life, that can bring hope to you, that can help you walk through the process, because no one was giving her solutions and just get away from him. So at that point, she had a soul tie.
And then she felt sorry.
Right.
And she felt like she almost needed to be the mama that he didn't have.
Absolutely.
And then she felt like she needed to be the daddy that he didn't want to have.
Right. And then he filled a need in her life, whether it was unhealthy or not. He filled a need. He filled an emotional need in her life during that time. Again, everybody had left her. Her mom had passed away. Her sisters were gone. They had their own
and
wives,
now
own
you
husbands.
paid me some attention, and I'm not gonna let you go.
Absolutely.
So death do us part, for real.
I'm gonna stand right here with you. I'll endure this. I'm tired.
Even when you don't want me anymore, and have moved on, or even when it's not healthy for you to be with me, I still want to be with you. Why? Because I'm unhealthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because if you look at it, they both were very unhealthy.
Very unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Then I look at the fact there were no positive role models. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about when I tell you no positive role model, there was not one healthy person in that whole scenario. Mm-mm. Nobody to be a role model. Nobody to be, again, you may not have had healthy role models, but then you need to connect with somebody that's healthy somewhere.
Yes.
Everybody's marriage is not messed up. Everybody's marriage is not crazy. Yes. I was laughing. Somebody met us one day and they said, y'all actually like each other. Yeah. And one thing we try to do is make sure that that even if we had a disagreement, it's not that we let people know all of the stuff, but sometimes we, my wife would be like, well, Cole, can you please? and she don't always go behind closed doors and do it, because I think one of the problems that I've seen in churches is that pastors make it seem like everything has been perfect.
Right. And they don't have any issues.
Don't have no issues.
They never argue, this, that, and the other. And so there's this fallacy, there's this image that is not real. And so people try to live up to what is portrayed and not the actuality of their life. Right.
And so now you have to be able to say, you know what, there's times when we may not necessarily, she wants to go to McDonald's and I want to go to Burger King. Mm-hmm. And then she wanted to go to McDonald's because she wanted a cheeseburger. Until she found out the cheeseburger, that in 10 years later, it still looked the same way. And she don't want no more cheeseburgers. Come on. She be like, I don't want no more cheeseburgers. Them cheeseburgers don't even process well.
Right, right. And so again, we have differences. Different things that we like. He wants the lights on. I want it pitch black dark. And so what do? Sometimes we have to compromise. He was like, I need a light. I need to see something, And so I'm like, okay, well, I just put on
or when she, like, sometimes she gets up, it's 5:00 in the morning, and she gets up Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 a.m. for prayer.
Well, I get up at 4:30.
And so 4:30. So sometimes we just went to bed at 12.
No, 2.
At 2. Right. Okay. So check this out. So sometimes when that happens, she's extremely tired. When she's extremely tired, when she comes in, it's like somebody got a chainsaw and they cutting down trees. And so I had to learn how to get me a pair of earplugs and put them in so that when she starts cutting down trees, I can go to sleep. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to sleep when a chainsaw was cutting trees down beside you. Oh, God. But you got to understand how to work with each other, man.
Right.
Again, it's like... And
I feel so bad about that. And I think I found a solution. I think I found a solution to it. But I would just feel so bad because, he's like, I've been up all night. I can't even sleep because you got a freight train coming through here. And I'm like...
And one day I recorded it.
I'm like, did that really happen? Because I don't.
Because you don't hear yourself when you're snoring.
Right.
So sometimes when she's snoring, I just kind of rub her shoulder.
And then sometimes they'll be like...
Hey.
I'm like,
God.
Was I doing it again?
Hey.
Did I do it? He'll just do it, just one time quickly.
And then I pick up the phone and I record it. Then what I had to do is I had to turn my light on my side and show her some video. I'm like, you see this? You see what this sounds like? And she'd be like, okay, I think I got a solution.
I would feel so bad. I'm like, what do I do? And I need to turn on my side or I need to, whatever. But again, going back to what is the other person willing to do to accommodate your needs?
Right. Somebody said, don't be calling you out. Oh, God. Hey, it is so funny, though. I'm telling you, when I say it's funny, it is so funny. And, but again, on the other side, I'm ex-military.
Right.
So I'm used to, like, trucks and stuff. Like, I can sleep through pretty much anything. I just can't go to sleep with it like that. Mm-hmm. Now, if I wake up and I have to go back to sleep, that's when I have a problem. But that's why I got earplugs. Man, I got earplugs beside the bed. And so I'm cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm cool. So, but again, I think, the thing is going back to our other point, if you find somebody that's a narcissist, it's all about them or they're selfish,
right?
It's never going to work.
Absolutely.
It's never going to work.
Absolutely. And then if they always try to make you feel bad because you don't do what they want you to do, then that's certainly an issue. If they're not willing to compromise, if they're not willing to say, you know what, I want to help you and assist you and what you need to do for the betterment of our relationship, if you feel that and know that it's always just one-sided, that you're always
Your cousin said it must be a family thing. Alanda, is it all of y'all snoring like that?
No.
I didn't know that. See, I didn't know that.
No.
You had to ask, John, to put that on your question list. Do you snore? Do you like to stay up all night? Do you get up early? See, these are questions that's important.
Yes. But you say, Kimberly Turner, your husband recorded you too? Lord have mercy. We got to start with the recording.
Oh, God.
Stop it.
That is so funny.
Stop it, I say.
Stop recording, huh?
Stop with the recording.
That is too funny. Yes, it's hilarious.
But, again, because sometimes we become oblivious to the things that we really do.
Right.
Sometimes we're oblivious.
See, that's a good point.
Yes.
So how do you deal with the fact, and sometimes it's not just the snoring. See, that's a good segue.
Yes.
It's not just the snoring. It's the other stuff, because you could be doing something to your spouse that you feel like is just normal.
Right.
You feel like, well, this is just normal.
Right.
Why are you so hurt? Why are you so offended? Why does this bother you so much? Well, you got to be able to look at it, and that's where we go back to saying, don't beat them up for what they do or don't do. You got to go back and say, this is how this makes me feel.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you don't get, you got to look them in the eye, baby. When you get up at 5 in the morning and you do your prayer, Lord knows I'm appreciative that you calling down heaven and you're praying for everybody in the nation.
Right.
But while you're praying for everybody in the nation, will you go back to sleep? Because I know you're tired. I know you be tired, sugar. So when you praying down heaven and the Lord is moving, when you come back and you bring your chainsaw and the freight train, then at least tell me to put on the earplugs or something. Because it makes me grumpy when I can't get no sleep. Right. And now I had to go to work. Even if we work by ourselves, I still need to get some work done.
Yes. Yes.
Don't you want me to get some work done?
Absolutely.
Because if I don't write the books and if I don't come up with the stuff, guess what happens? We don't eat.
Yes.
I can't take you shopping.
Absolutely.
I can't bless people. So those are things that you have to be able to deal with from that perspective. Right. Let me give you another one.
I saw one that was really, really amazing. Stephen Furtick was talking about a situation between he and his wife, and he said he never looked at it that way. But sometimes when he's talking, he'll just kind of like point his finger, whatever. And he didn't know that it really bothered his wife until one day she told him how that really made her feel. And he was like, wow. Because many times we're doing things and we don't realize how it makes the other person feel.
Right. Prime example. Now, okay, here's one that we dealt with, and a lot of people probably have dealt with this one. The late issue. So what happened was, we first got married. It takes my wife just a few minutes longer to get dressed than it does me. I got a bald head. I make sure my barber keep it cut low. I go in, I take a shower, put my clothes on, and leave. My wife, she's got to do her hair. She got to make sure her nails are done. She got to make sure she cute. Because God forbid the pastor's wife come in and she ain't cute. I mean, pastor can look like whatever most days. He got to be sharp these days too, because social media make you have to be sharp.
Yes.
But if the pastor wife ain't looking good, it's really a problem. And so here is my wife, and because everybody like my wife, and she's always really jazzy, really classy, really sharp, she got to be cute. Okay? So it takes her longer. So now here's the problem. I'm saying, baby, if I don't get there on time, and I tell all the other leaders, we got to be there an hour early, so we can be there for prayer. If I'm coming in 2 minutes after 10 for prayer, and everybody sees me walk in, that's a problem.
Right.
Because I'm not setting the standard.
Right.
Now I got to preach in condemnation that I'm not there on time because you needed to be cute. When you knew last night you should have went to bed. Right. And got up earlier so you could be on time.
Right.
So we had to go through that. Now my wife is like, guess who's up and ready? She beats me getting ready.
Right.
And so, because then I'm like, well, baby, this is how it makes me feel, because then I got to preach. I got to preach to people when I'm not doing what I'm asking them to do.
Right.
Then it gives somebody an opportunity to say to me, well, you ain't here at 10 o'clock, or your wife ain't here at 10 o'clock, so why I got to be here at 10 o'clock?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Then on top of that, now I got now I got to preach like that, and then I don't work well when I'm rushed. So now I'm rushed, and I don't have my little piece together. So now when I come in, bam, we in trouble.
Yes. We're located, we're here in Tampa, Florida. We're located here in Tampa. But again, absolutely. So I had to make a determination to change. If he was getting frustrated and going through these different things, because again, in my mind, I'm not seeing the whole picture. I'm not seeing the totality of the thing. Even as he described, it's not just about him being frustrated. It is about the other people that we hold a standard to, that we've got to live up to the same standard. And so looking at the totality of everything, looking at things from the other person's point of view, this is so important, and is critical. It is a critical part of your relationship, that you both can look at each other's through each other's, point of view. Because if you're just one-sided, well, this is how I feel about it, and it's just the way it is. No, it can't just be the way it is. Unless it's something that's going to, hurt someone's feelings or hurt their, physical person, then we have to look at it and say, how can I change? How can I accommodate you? How can I, of course, my husband just said, there's not a lot that he's concerned with. He doesn't care about what we eat. He very seldom, says, oh, we need to go here, there, or the other. And so then at the same time, then I have to, be more aware of the things that he does like. What are the things that you do like to do? What are the things what would you like to do today? And many times I'll say, well, how can I bless you today? How can I serve you today? Because a lot of times, most times my husband makes it about me. He's like, what do you want to do? What do you want? You want something? I'm going to try my best to get it. So for me, it's like, okay, what can I do for you today? How can I assist you? What are the things that are on your heart today, so that I can see how I can accommodate that? And sometimes my husband says, oh no, you're doing a great job. But I still have to be able to say, to let him know that I'm concerned about the things that he's concerned about.
All right, so 2 questions. Somebody asked a question. I want to answer these 2 questions. The first question is, what do you say about a lack of communication in marriage? And the same person asked, what do you do about a spouse always being gone 3 days at a time? How do you address it? Well, let me scratch my head on that one. That's a tough one. Because the woman, let me say what the woman said in the movie. Now you can see this in the preview, so I'm not telling that part of the movie. She says, if he's not spending time with me, who's he spending time with?
I know the type of person that he is.
Right. She went on further to say, if he's not receiving certain things from me, where is he getting it from? So 3 days at a time, what do you say about it? And no communication. If you want me to give you the honest opinion, if it's 3 days at a time,
he's already left the relationship.
He's already exited the relationship. The relationship is pretty much, it's a tough situation. So again, Deandra was asking, because she's a counselor. So she said it's either adultery. I'm reading what she said. She said it's either adultery, and somebody said, where is he? So she says it's either adultery or addiction. And I agree.
Right.
Because
absolutely.
And everybody else is saying that spouse is committing adultery.
Right. Or an addiction, or he's addicted to something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I'm gonna let them answer the question instead of me having to answer the question. Because if I answer the question, you may not necessarily like per se my answer.
Right.
Because I agree with what they're saying. Something is going on.
Right.
I'm not going to be gone 3 days. And then let me say this. If your spouse is gone over 24 hours and comes back and you let them do that, then you can't blame them. You have to blame yourself.
Right.
You know, because you continue to allow the dysfunction.
Right.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I got this thing now. I'm not, trying to find out where she is and all this kind of stuff. If she goes somewhere, baby, go and enjoy yourself. Right. I don't have no problem with that. If I'm doing something, there's times when I need to just take a ride to be able to think, because that's how I think.
Yes.
And so she processes by herself.
Right, absolutely. And I'm good with that. He'll say, you know what, I'm just going to take a ride. I say, oh, good. Have a great time. We'll talk later. And because I know my husband. And I don't have to, search him and try to figure out, okay, where are you? You didn't call me 5 minutes, That's kind of stuff is crazy. But again, knowing who you're married to, knowing their propensity, what they're, sometimes the way to tell what a person is going to do is by previous behavior.
Mm-hmm. It's usually always an indicator.
Yeah.
It's always an indicator. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to see that and know. Somebody said, I will be at the front door waiting 3 days. No, You don't want to be at the front door waiting 3 days. I mean, that can be too stressful, mm-hmm. especially if you always got to do that. So you got to let them know. Now, this is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. It's like my wife. Now, sometimes she'll go somewhere and she'll forget her phone. Mm-hmm. And so she'll leave her phone at home or something. Mm-hmm. And I tell her, I said, baby, now, if something happened, now let me break this down to, here's a good one. What would have happened if, do you remember the night I got into the accident?
Yes.
Okay. The lady knocked me 4 lanes of traffic.
Right.
I was sitting at the stoplight.
Yes.
When she hit me, we were on the phone.
Right.
But what would have happened if I hadn't had my phone when the lady hit me?
Right.
And then you'd have found out that I was in the hospital mm-hmm. because you left your phone somewhere.
Right.
And there was an emergency situation that you need to get with me. Mm-hmm. Or what would happen if you were in the same scenario and your phone is here at home mm-hmm. and you're in the car and somebody hits you, and now I got to get a call from the 911 person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think that you need to have some kind of relationship with your spouse that you do look at those basic things and deal with it accordingly.
Yes.
If your spouse is gone for 3 days, I'm like, man, I mean, unless you have some kind of serious mental incapacitation, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, really, you done had amnesia, you done blocked out, you done had an episode or something.
Right.
But if they continually doing that and you letting them do it, then the fault is more yours than it is necessarily theirs.
Right.
Because you've allowed it to happen.
Absolutely.
Because you can't complain about what you won't admit, and then you can't correct what you won't confront. So all of those things are there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because somewhere or another he has already left the relationship, and maybe he comes back for convenience, maybe he comes back out of obligation, but the majority of him is already gone.
Right. Yep, he's gone. 3 days is a vacation. Yep, that's what it is. Somebody said they've been talking to somebody. Somebody said they've been talking to somebody for a year and they see selfishness in the person. A mama's boy, and let me tell you something. That's tough.
It is.
Let me tell you, that's one of the toughest things, because when stuff happens, if it's a mama's boy, you almost have to compete with the mama.
Absolutely.
And competing with somebody's mama is hard to do.
Absolutely, because that mother is always going to find fault in you.
Right.
It's gonna
because nobody's ever going to be perfect enough for their child.
Absolutely. And that son is going to always have an affinity towards the mother and respect her more than they respect you. And whatever mama says, that's what they're going to do. If mama says, don't pay bills or don't do this, that's what they're going to do.
Now let me say this. Now that's a balancing thing. Mm-hmm. Because at the same time, a man that respects his mother is going to respect the wife, because you said that was one of the things you liked, was the fact that I love my mom and took care of her.
But it was a balance though. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was a balance. It wasn't as if she ran your life.
Somebody said they hadn't. I had to look at that. I'm like, my God. Somebody said they hadn't had physical intimacy for 5 years in a relationship. That's not acceptable either.
Right.
That's not acceptable.
And these are the things. Listen, this is why we're doing this, because these are the things that people really deal with. I'm talking about people in church. I'm not talking about the world. And these are some of the issues that people don't deal with. You don't hear this, in church. You don't hear this in, these conferences. You don't hear this, and then we're losing, we're losing marriages. We're losing because we don't know. Many times people don't know. They don't know what healthy marriages look like. And so, you continue to live in this dysfunction, and it kills everybody. Yeah.
And then and the church is having more divorces than people in the world. And so it's a lot of couples are celibate. Oh my God. And so, right. So how are you married and not intimate?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a problem.
Because absolutely, is sex important in a marriage? And some people have their own opinions, but is sex important in a marriage?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that God created it for marriage, and it has various purposes. In a marriage, it has several different purposes in a marriage.
Yeah, and let me say this now. If y'all have, sometimes it's health issues. So if you got health issues or something, but if you've been married and y'all not together ever, anytime, and so some people can be like that. I don't know. I'm not saying, that it's, that's a tough one too. Because, what if they had health issues, or what happens if you get older? That makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I'm not talking about your biological time of life, how life goes, whether you're in your 70s or 80s or whatever, and sometimes that's still not an issue. But sometimes that's still not an issue. So looking at that, is that something you both agreed upon not to do, or it just happened that you just go your separate ways and it never comes up?
Whew, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because somebody was saying they know people that are living in separate rooms. We know people that are living in separate houses. And they still married, but they live in separate houses.
Yes.
And so when some of this stuff happens, I just feel like some of that stuff is not healthy.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's not healthy.
Yes.
I think, if it gets that bad that you can't live together, that's not good. I
know of a situation now. This couple has been married for 45 years. They've been married for 45 years. 45 years. They have been separated for about 20 of those years. Live in 2 separate cities.
And still married.
Still married. Still, the husband, comes over, helps her out, does different things. They are still married and have not lived together in 20 years.
And if that's what marriage is, I don't want it. I don't want it. No, I want to be with the person.
Yes, it's just like you exist.
Right.
But you're existing, it's not even a fantasy. You're existing in crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've been married for 45 years and you haven't lived together for 20 years. What is that?
Yeah.
That's a special kind of dysfunction.
A special kind. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's an arrangement.
It's an arrangement. Absolutely.
I like that.
It's an arrangement. And the husband was like, I'm not going to divorce her. Well, you've already divorced her.
Right.
You guys have made a decision not to live together. And then she's trying to control what goes on over there in their house, and she, gets an attitude. You ain't got nothing to say. You don't have nothing to say about what goes on in this person's household. Y'all been separated 20 years.
Right. And then I think he had a roommate that came to live because he needed some extra money. And so she didn't want him to have a roommate in the house, but you wouldn't go live in the house with him. That's not good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, listen, We've covered a lot tonight. We've talked about we talked about indicators of unhealthy, not having boundaries, no standards, no healthy people around you, no positive role models. About being in dysfunctional relationships where the person is really not concerned about you. The person knows how to say all the right things at all the right times, but at the same time, you can still tell that they don't really love you. You know, and then and then the person almost drives you to being deranged. And but like we said in the beginning, do not ignore the red flags.
Yes, it's important that you begin to seek counsel before it's court ordered.
Right.
Because some things will cause you to be irate. It will cause you to be deranged. It will cause you to be revengeful.
Right. And want to hurt somebody.
Want to really hurt someone.
Chop them up with an axe.
Oh, absolutely.
After you shot them.
Let me tell you, you can see that. You can see that almost at least once a week over a domestic situation that has turned deadly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was years ago. That's when I was growing up. But that whole Lorena Bobbitt thing made history. That man must have really took her somewhere.
We still know her name.
Right. And the woman with the grits. You know what I'm saying? The hot water and the grits.
Hey.
Or the songs about busting the windows out your car. All of that stuff, man.
The burning bed.
Right. You got to run from that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A thin line between love and hate. See, all of that stuff, this acrimony is really almost a whole flow of the thin line between love and hate.
Absolutely.
You're going to go burn his clothes up.
Right. And
man, please.
Somewhere or another, somebody can relate to some point in that movie.
Right. Or when you'd have got so mad that you'd have ran the RV over with the Jeep. That's crazy.
That's yeah.
That means they've taken you to a place of insanity. But it also means you weren't healthy. If she was healthy, she would have seen that going on, and she'd have been like, you know what?
But
I'm
just saying, you done spent $20,000 on the car. He don't even, he don't call you for 2 days. You got to go find him in the $20,000 car that you bought.
Oh God.
That part right there. I mean, I'd have took my car back, my keys,
all of it.
I'd have been so through with him.
Yeah.
I'd have been so through because she looked back and see how she has a loud life.
Oh God!
Right.
Y'all be using them curse words. Y'all better stop that.
She willingly gave her life away and let somebody walk over her.
Now Jonda says she made a list of questions that's 2 pages long. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Now, somebody said he was not a con man, maybe a dreamer. Now, I agree when I look at the end of the movie that he probably wasn't a con man, that he was a dreamer. He believed in what he was doing. But I also say he could have dreamed and worked.
Right. Absolutely. Let me tell you, your job prepares you for your work. So while you're working on somebody else's job to make sure that you're providing for yourself and your spouse, then you can also come home and work on your dream.
Right.
And so it may have been, she should have given him an ultimatum of 3 years, 5 years, but 18 years. And then, the family did try to step in because here it was, they were about to lose their family home, step in to say, okay, we got you this job. And even though it was a good idea about meeting with this person, it cost them.
Now, let me say this too. My personal opinion is that the other girl planned that all along. I believe that to a certain extent. Maybe that's just a plot of the movie, but I believe somewhere in there was a desire.
Right.
Because she
saw an opportunity.
And she knew about the thing from the very beginning. And so, could it have been that she had planned some of this stuff the whole time?
The thing that you don't deal with in the beginning has a way of coming back.
Oh, yeah. If you don't deal with it. So, again, do not ignore red flags if you're not married. If you are married, still, don't ignore red flags and talk to your spouse about it.
Right.
But talk to them, tell them, and don't come argumentatively. No, tell them how it makes you feel when they do what they do.
Yes.
If it's manipulation, if it's infidelity, if you see them giving more attention to other people, listen. Now, this is how I feel. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing it.
Right.
But I feel like this is what happens when this happens, because sometimes they may not even know.
Yes.
They may not even know that that's what they do.
Yes.
It may have been that, and you be like, well, how do you not know this is what you're doing? Because it may be normal to them. Mm-hmm. It may be normal for a person to act a certain way. Mm-hmm. It may be normal to be verbally abusive or manipulative or manipulative or even conning or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was used to a woman doing something for him.
Yeah. You know what, Rashida, you're right. She said she hasn't seen the movie, but sometimes we are not victimized, we volunteer.
Oh, I love it. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I totally agree.
That's true. That is so true. Sometimes we do. Again, sometimes we don't see the value in ourselves. We don't know and we don't recognize that we deserve better. And so then we accept anything. And we just continue with it because that's become our lifestyle. And so we just continue in it until we've reached the boiling point, mm-hmm. In our life to wherein we explode. Some people are passive aggressive. Some people deal with things immediately, and so when you're passive aggressive, you let things continue,
and
then you blow up.
But remember I told you, I always just said that's how I was. Mm-hmm. I used to be very passive aggressive because I wasn't really confrontational mm-hmm. until it was the last straw.
Right.
And then I learned, even from my leadership perspective, I got to address things when it initially happens.
Yes.
The moment you do something that I don't necessarily like, mm-hmm. Come on, let's talk about this. Somebody said he was carrying their battery like Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yes.
But that's real though.
Yes. Yes.
And somebody said you never know what you'll do in that situation. Mm-hmm. But let me say this. What I would like for you to do, if you currently are in that situation, then talk to somebody.
Right.
Even like there are counselors on here, like DeAndre and her, I think they do some counseling.
Bolden.
And so there's other people, there's counselors in your city.
Yes.
Now, go see a counselor.
Right.
Go talk to somebody. Go talk to your pastor. Go talk to your spiritual leader. Go talk to somebody. If you see people that is in your life and you know that you've been accepting stuff, you watch this video and you say, man, I'm seeing this stuff is unhealthy that I'm dealing with.
Right.
Then you need to go talk to somebody. Right. Seek help. Because you don't have to get to the place that you're burning the car down, locking the doors, changing the locks and all that kind of stuff, or getting into verbal and abuse. You don't have to do all that.
Right.
You can save that money that you're going to pay to get the car windows fixed. You can spend that money on a counselor. Pay the counselor so that you can get help. Because then you've been through 4 relationships mm-hmm. with 4 different people that were abusive, and you find, well, I like these abusive people. Mm-hmm. I like abusive people.
Or you think that's what it's supposed to be, or you feel as though that's what love is. And it's really amazing when we say we love someone, most people don't know what true love really is. Because you see...
DeAndre, is that the company name, Faith Solutions to Mental Health? Or is that a book? Yeah, I like that. Pay a counselor or pay an attorney. You're going to do one of the two. Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't go to jail.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't go to jail. Please don't go to jail. So, because it's not worth it.
Right.
Because she could have went to jail the first time think of what happened if the police had rolled by while she was running her Jeep into that RV.
Oh my God. And so
that's attempted murder.
Here she was in this whole situation, emotionally raged. She deals with this thing, and then at 21, she has to have a hysterectomy.
Right. So now you got the resentment of not having a degree, the resentment of a hysterectomy, the rage came because of her own fault. Because you can't choose what somebody else does, but you can choose how you react to it.
Absolutely.
So now, come on, that was worse than a jail sentence. Because she was never able to produce children. She was never able to finish her degree. So now I really am mad.
Yeah, because you know what? Sometimes what happens, and we've seen this too, a woman, or whether it's a man or a woman, have walked through this whole process with this spouse, sacrifice a whole lot, 10, 12 years, 15 years, and when they finally get it, they give it to somebody else that have not sacrificed. They give it to somebody else that have not suffered with them one day. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be kidding me. I'm the one that worked 2 jobs for you. I'm the one that did all this. I'm the one. And so now that you got what you were supposed to get because I sacrificed and I worked my fingers to the bone, now you just willing to give it to somebody else? No, it belongs to me.
Hey, you sound like you got a little warm behind that. You felt that sister's pain. I can see that.
You know what?
Could y'all see? She felt that sister's pain. She like, this sister. But I'm saying from the very beginning, she probably should have got out of that.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't healthy.
She shouldn't have been in that in the very beginning. She should have really listened, or just had people.
And somebody said that's their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel sorry for you for that's your life. DeAndre was saying the company Faith Solutions to Mental Health provides counseling, Christian counseling. But listen. Look them up. Find a Christian counselor somewhere in your city.
Yeah, DeAndrea Bolden.
Yeah, who can help you, man?
Yeah,
because
that's something that we really need to look at and just
mental health in the church. Because mental health in marriage, and then some stuff, because everything is not a demon. Some stuff is just learned behavior.
Right.
You learn how to do that because your mama did that.
Right.
You learn how to do that because your father did that. It was the environment you grew up in.
Yes.
And so. Somebody said, I would be cussing. I am delivered. I can't do it. Oh, God. So, yeah. So, Jesus. But it's real, though. It's real. It's real. And it's real even in the church.
Yes.
The stuff is going on.
Yes.
So, I had talked to a friend of mine yesterday. He said, man, I applaud what you're doing. But he said, it's tough because everybody that I see doing what you're doing ends up getting divorced. Like the guy, he said, the guy that wrote Men Are From Venus and Women Are From Mars or something like that, he got a divorce. It's been years ago. But I'm like, man, because maybe they were addressing issues that they had,
right,
but still didn't overcome the issues.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. That's why it's so important that we really pray for marriages. We really connect and support one another. And find people that you can really trust, that that are going to stand with you, that are going to equip you and empower you, as you walk through these processes. Everything doesn't have to end in divorce. There is a God that reconciles. There is a God that heals and delivers. It does not have to end as it did in the movie. We can change the ending. We can change what the enemy intended. For marriages, for what you're dealing with, and so as we really we've got to begin to really war for marriages. We got to fight for marriages. We got to really, seek God, seek godly counsel, so that we can know how to operate as truly as a husband and as a wife that God ordained, not from what we've seen in the past, not from what just somebody told us, or not from what we read in one of those, romance novels. No, we got to find out what is the true standard that God ordained for marriages.
Wow. Now, Jeremy, I'm ex-military, and so I can appreciate and understand what you were saying. He said that PTSD has really messed up his sleep and his marriage and a lot of other things, his intimacy. And so, for me, that's a really sore spot because and then somebody said, what if your spouse is not interested in anything you do with God? So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to go back to the PTSD thing. I got a friend of mine who was a military colonel, and he got out of the military as a full bird colonel, almost made general, and he and his wife divorced because she couldn't deal with his mood swings and other things that he was dealing with from his post-traumatic stress disorder. Right. So that's the thing that really touches my heart, because I know I served 13 years in the Army. So I understand some of the challenges that we go through in the military as a result of having served our country. And I've even seen situations where people said their spouse came back from the war and was different. They just weren't the same.
Right.
And so my heart goes out for situations like that. And so I say, even with that, sometimes in the military we were so tough we didn't want to get help.
Right.
But sometimes you really got to get help, even if your help is just talking to other people.
Yes.
He said he didn't, he said, how did you overcome the dreams? I almost killed my wife 3 times in my sleep. Yeah, that's tough, man. That's really tough. And it's not that you wanted to do it. It was that you woke up and thought that you were in a combat situation.
Right.
And your mind was going back to that place.
Right.
And, DeAndrea, maybe you can. I don't know if you're getting any counseling, Jeremy, but I do think that that if you can, and let me say this. Oh my God. Then sometimes you go to the VA and they don't really help.
Right.
Because they have so many cases that they sometimes don't even really help you.
Right.
But
they just want to give you Jeremy, medication.
They want to medicate it, yeah. Because they get money for getting you to try these new drugs. Jeremy, DeAndrea Bolden, she's on here, and she may be able to help you or refer you to somebody who can help you in some of those situations.
Right.
Who can get you some help. Inbox us, and if I can, depending on where you're at, if I know somebody that can even help you go through deliverance. Because some stuff is also an issue of deliverance.
Right.
You know, some stuff is mental, some stuff is emotional, some stuff is deliverance, and so it will be difficult for me to really give you a full help. But inbox us, LaJun and Valora, on our Facebook page if you're watching there, or if you are you're in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada. Wow. Okay. Send me an email, info@LaJunandValora.com, or you can call us at 1-844-WE-ARE-COLE. And I'll try to get you connected, because I do have some friends that are in the Canada area who can probably get you some help and be able to minister to you so that you're better.
Yes. You know, it's so amazing, because I remember 7 years ago, we've gotten several prophetic words that God was going to use us to heal marriages. God just brought that back to me. You know, 7 years ago, that was prophesied over us, that we were Aquila Priscilla team, and that God was going to use us, you know, to bring healing and restoration. Oh, go ahead, to marriages.
I'll go back and get his email.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you can. So, you know, it's just, we want to see people whole. We want to see them healthy. We want to see them, you know, their marriage, you know, as they, you know, their marriage be representative of ministry, of coming together, you know, and being successful, being everything that God has created you to be. It's not that you'll never go through anything. We can't be that oblivious to think that just because God brought us together that we'll never have to deal with anything. Yes, we do. And that's what covenant is all about, being able to support each other, love each other through the process that we all would have to go through sometime or another.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Well, listen, we hope you've enjoyed Pillow Talk tonight. Please go to our website, LaJunandValora.com. We've got, you know, besides the stuff we do with Pillow Talk, we've got some amazing conferences. We'll be at ASAF this month with Apostle John Eckhart. The 12th, 13th, and 14th. We'll be in Dallas, Texas. Next month, we're coming to Indianapolis, Indiana on I think it's the second week in next month. And then the third week in next month, we're coming to Port Arthur, Texas. That's May. June, we're going to do a meeting in Chicago that's going to help business owners to do some amazing things, and we'll be getting you more information on that. But I want all of you that have been a part of our Suddenly movement, believing by faith that God is going to do something for you suddenly, quickly, abruptly, straightway, immediately. We're getting ready to do our annual conference, Suddenly Conference, our global conference. We've got friends going to be preaching from Curacao, from South America, Apostle John Eckhart, Prophet Sophia Ruffin. My wife will be ministering. I'll be ministering. That'll be in Tampa, Florida, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. On the 4th, we will have a Suddenly family reunion from all the different locations. People are coming in to be a part of it, and we're going to have a Caribbean barbecue on the beach. So it's going to be an amazing time to hang out and to be together. It's going to be in Tampa, Florida, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So we're really excited about that. Yes. And I'm really trying to. When are we coming to the UK? We are coming. We are coming. Because we're coming to Tanzania this year. Yes. We're coming back to Perth, Australia, back to Manila and Davao City, Philippines. We're coming back to Trinidad. We will probably be in Peru, and then we're definitely coming back to South Africa. And then in December, we're taking about 30 leaders from our church to Israel. And so a very extensive meeting schedule for the end of the year. We're really excited about what God is doing. We hope that something we said or something that one of the other people was on here said is going to bless you, help you, minister to you. I was laughing earlier. DeAndre was talking about, yes, Nelly Chanel, we're going to be excited about you being here with us in August.
Yes.
And I was laughing earlier. Deandra was like, "These people just get married after 1 year, and now they want to do they want to have a marriage counseling." And I was laughing. I was like, "You are absolutely right."
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't listen. That's why I say I have a problem listening to somebody that's 18, 19, 20 years old, because sometimes they may not have had the experience. They heard about certain things.
Right.
They can say what they heard, but they can't tell you what they've been through.
Right.
So somebody said, somebody said, "Oh, where are we at? We're in Tampa, Florida." Mm-hmm. Yep, Tampa, Florida.
Somebody said they were going to send me a picture. Yes, go ahead and send that. God bless you. Thank you.
Yep. So so that's what Pillow Talk has been all about. Just getting to connect, getting to talk, getting to deal with real issues. I thought this movie, going back over this movie, would be pretty good because it really gave some good information. I mean, it was really some stuff you could dissect. My wife asked a question. I think I might wait. Well, it's no perfect time. But she asked me the question. She said, how could she tell the story all the way to the end of the story if at one point she died? That's a good question. Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. Yeah. I don't know how she did that. Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk to Tyler Perry about that.
Yeah. I need some answers, some questions answered with that.
Yes.
With just couple different things, but it really makes you think. It really makes you think that sometimes we can allow ourselves to get in such situations that we lose everything about us.
Right. All clarity, all sanity, everything.
We lose our mind, our emotions. We lose everything. We can really get into situations where we lose everything.
Wow, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we love you. We're getting out of here. Check out our website, LaJunandValora.com. Our Facebook page, follow us, and our Twitter page, follow us. And if you got things, go to our Facebook page, not our Facebook, but our website. If there's questions that you want answered, or if you need referrals, connect with us so that we can connect you with some of the people we know.
Yes.
Because you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to go through craziness. You don't have to deal with issues.
Yes.
Connect with us so we can connect you with people who can then be a blessing to you, and
right.
who have the experience and the education to help walk you out of some of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to share with you all too is we have a warfare prayer, the Bold Prayer Fearless Intercessor Warfare Prayer, and a part of that prayer is towards marriages. And so please get that. Just let it play throughout your home and in your car, and begin to declare the word of the Lord over your marriages. Begin to anoint yourself. We got a few breakthrough. And just begin to pray. Begin to really, really seek God and the wisdom of God and the healing power of God, so that He can heal you everywhere you've hurt. Amen. So we thank God for you guys. We're praying for you, believing God for what you're believing for your life, for your marriage, so that you can go forth and be all that God has called you to be, so that now you can share your testimony with others to say, this is what God has done. Again, you don't have to settle for what the movie did or that ending. You can change the ending of what the enemy wanted, attempted to do in your life, because he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But you have the ability to change that, so that you can live and your marriage can live, in Jesus' name. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Please continue to share the broadcast with others, so that those that are dealing with something or similar to what we discussed will be able to be inspired. And so again, we love you guys. Talk to you soon. God bless.